If you spend any time building financial models, you know that Excel is an incredibly powerful tool, but it also can be a minefield. I've seen firsthand that defaulting to familiar functions might feel like a clever shortcut, but using the wrong features can invisibly ruin your calculations or cause your entire model to crash. Today, let's consider best practices with regard to functionality to avoid. Not all Excel tools are created equal, and knowing what to ignore is just as important as knowing what to use. I'm Wattig. Throughout my career in senior finance roles at Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and Squarespace, solving these exact Excel problems helped me earn 3 promotions in less than 5 years. Today, I teach FP&A to finance teams at companies like Google and Merck, and I run the Executive Education FP&A program at the Wharton School. Throughout this video, we're differentiating between high-risk and medium-risk items that can be deployed if you understand and mitigate the risks. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which habits to leave behind so you can build transparent, self-sufficient, and bulletproof models. Let's dive right into the high-risk features. Let's start with intentional circular references. These should be avoided because there's no guarantee the model will iterate to a correct solution. Plus, you can't tell if a certain circularity is accidentally introduced because Excel only gives you one alert if it finds any. They can significantly slow down your model, and they are notoriously difficult to troubleshoot. A common scenario where someone might consider introducing one is for interest expense, because the interest expense depends on the amount of debt you have. When the interest expense goes up, that negatively impacts your available cash flows, causing the model to assume a higher amount of debt, which increases the interest expense again. Fortunately, there are alternative methods. Instead of a circular reference, you could calculate the initial amount of interest expense through a goal-seek function, or use solver or manual iteration. Now, knowing which Excel features to avoid will save you time. But here's the truth. What differentiates you in FP&A is what you do outside the spreadsheet. I run a free live session called Steal My FP&A Playbook, where I walk you through the full system: analysis, forecasting, business partnering, storytelling. To save your seat, simply click the first link in the description below. Next on the list of functions to avoid are offset and indirect. These functions are volatile, which means whenever Excel recalculates, so whenever you change something in the inputs, they recalculate themselves as well, no matter whether they're directly impacted. This constant recalculation can significantly slow down the performance of your Excel spreadsheet and eventually even result in crashes. There are also harder to audit. Trace dependence functionality will not identify them. And likewise, there are issues with trace precedence. So a much better approach is to use index match or XLOOKUP, SUMIF, or Excel tables for referencing another cell. Another formatting trick to avoid is using custom formats to change units. Let's say you have cells where the underlying value is 10 million, but you use custom formatting to make it show as just 10. That is not advised because it's intransparent that there's a calculation going on in the background. Rather than doing it that way, it's more transparent to simply take the number and divide it by 1,000,000. Then we have VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. I go as far as saying there should be no reason whatsoever for you to ever use VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP. The problem with these old formulas is that they are fixed cell references. They aren't dynamic. That means if the source data changes, for example, if a row or column is inserted in your data, VLOOKUP may struggle with that. The counting falls apart. The worst thing is that when that happens, it doesn't show you an error message. It simply shows you the wrong number. You think your model is working, but in fact, you're pulling in the wrong numbers. Also, when you press F2 to audit VLOOKUP, it looks different from auditing XLOOKUP or index match. XLOOKUP is better than VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP in every way, so I highly recommend making the switch. External links are also on the list of high-risk items to avoid. First, they're an easy source for errors because it's difficult to check the accuracy when you're comparing different files. But the number one reason to avoid them is that they can break easily, especially if someone who receives the file doesn't have access to one of the source files. If that happens, the model doesn't work properly for them. Lastly, external links can cause massive version control issues. You have to pay attention to what's changing not only in your file, but also in all the other files you're linking to, making it difficult to have a central repository. Rather than linking to external files, it's better to bring the numbers in through a copy-paste so your model is self-sufficient. We also need to talk about legacy array functions. These are the complex multi-cell functions where the only way for them to work is if you press Ctrl-Shift-Enter. Now, if you're using modern dynamic arrays in Excel 365, this doesn't apply to you, but you'll still see these in older models. Using these legacy arrays is essentially like having part of your sheet be in manual mode, which can result in things getting missed and the wrong value being returned. Similarly, nested if statements should be avoided. I do see those sometimes in models I review, and they are just very difficult to follow. And there's a high risk of error when editing because they can be quite complex to reconcile across all the branches. Now, I need to clarify my stance on pivot tables. Generally speaking, there's nothing wrong with pivot tables, right? I love them for use cases where I have a lot of data and I want to make sense of it quickly. But they don't have a place in the middle of a financial model where you're building on top of them as an intermediary calculation. They have similar issues to old array formulas. They don't refresh automatically. They must be refreshed manually. When you link to a pivot table, the calculations can be opaque and they massively increase the file size. You could use them on a presentation sheet as the final output, but keep them out of your core calculations. Finally, let's look at merged cells. Let's say you have a fairly big sheet and in the middle you merge cells across 3 columns to create a heading. If you then try to write a formula to reference one of those columns, the formula automatically widens the reference because of the merged cell. Instead of using a merged cell, select the cells, press Ctrl or Command 1, go to Alignment, and for horizontal alignment, select Center Across Selection. It looks exactly as if it was merged, but it actually isn't, so it doesn't create any referencing issues. Now, let's continue with medium risk issues. Those are functionalities that you can use, but you have to be careful, and you should only use those functionalities if you understand how they work. The first one is NPV and XNPV, and understanding where you should use which. XNPV allows you to enter the exact dates of each individual cash flow, which can be more accurate than NPV, which uses periods instead of dates. NPV assumes that you're getting the cash flows on the last day of the period, and it assumes the same for any period without letting you adjust it. With XNPV, you have more control because you can specify the exact date wherever you get the cash flows. The first parameter in your formula tells you where the cash flows are, and the second range tells you the associated dates. If you change a date to July 1st, that immediately has an impact on the NPV calculation. This gives you more control, and it's important to know that you're giving that up when you're using the regular NPV formula. Now let's talk about macros. A macro is a way you can record an action in Excel which automatically writes VBA code in the backend. You can add a button to your model, and when you click it, the macro automatically performs that action, like moving data from one tab to another. While it can help with automating manual aspects of the model, you need to be mindful because macros have significant disadvantages. For one, they reduce transparency. When you hand a model over to someone else, they will not know what happens when they click that button, and they may not have the technical skill to read and understand that VBA code. Macros are also pretty inflexible, making it difficult to ensure they will work in all circumstances. If you copy something over and then something changes in the source data, the macro may copy the wrong information. They are difficult to audit and review unless someone understands VBA. This is becoming a bit less of a problem because you can copy non-confidential VBA code into ChatGPT or your favorite AI chatbot, and it can tell you how the code works and what it does. But I would still be careful with macros because they can break easily. Then we have round and round down. This is a tricky one because it essentially changes your data, which could cause issues later down the line. It can also inadvertently hide mistakes. Ideally, you should only round through formatting, meaning you change how many digits you display without changing the underlying number. Do not make balancing calculations an exception for this unless it's for a check formula. For example, a balance sheet check formula is very strict, so if the difference is very small, it could come from rounding elsewhere. In that case, it's permissible. Lastly, we have is error and if error. These are formulas that can hide error messages. Error messages are actually useful because they notify you of potential mistakes. So resolving them by hiding the damages is not the right way forward. I'm not saying you can never use these formulas. Sometimes they're useful or even necessary. For example, if you want to display a 0 instead of a not applicable error, because you're using another if statement to pick up those zeros. Just be careful with over-relying on these formulas. Alright, so now you know which Excel features to avoid, and that alone is going to save you hours. But I want to leave you with something bigger. Excel is a tool, and it's a tool you need to be good at. But it's not what makes you valuable in finance. The people who get pulled into pre-decision conversations, the people who get promoted into leadership, they're not winning because of better spreadsheet. They're winning because they know how to turn the numbers into something leaders act on. Variance analysis that points to a specific decision. Forecasts that leaders trust. A performance story that gets absorbed in minutes, not filed and forgotten. That's the stuff that happens outside of Excel. And that's exactly what I teach in a free live session called Steal My FP&A Playbook. It's 90 minutes. I walk you through the complete 6-part framework: budgeting, analysis, forecasting, modeling, business partnering, and storytelling as one connected system. No replay, so you need to be there live. The link is below this video. Save your spot, and I'll see you there.